The Reveille performed by Mr. Brooks McCoskey from the Port St. Lucie County Band. Reveille is a bugle call most often associated with the military. It is chiefly used to wake military personnel at sunrise. The name comes from Reveille, the French word to wake up. Distinguished guests, elected officials, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, welcome to the National Vietnam War Veterans Day celebration here at the majestic Veterans Memorial Park. My name is Jose Capellan, and I'm a retired Naval Warrant Officer, and I'm currently managed the St. Lucie County Veterans Services Division, and I'm honored to be your Master of Ceremony today. In March 2017, the President of the United States signed into law the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act of 2017, designating March 29th as National Vietnam War Veterans Day, a day set aside in perpetuity for our nation to thank and honor all Vietnam War veterans. Today's event is sponsored by one of our own, St. Lucie County Commissioner Linda Bartz, and the Vietnam Veterans of America, Michael F. Bradley, Chapter 566. It is all supported by the administration of St. Lucie County, all the other commissioners, and Port St. Lucie City and elected officials. Today, we're here to recognize, thank, and honor United States veterans who served during the Vietnam War and Vietnam era. Today, we honor and thank the brave men and women who sacrificed so much for our country and the individual freedoms we enjoy today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're able to stand, please stand for the presentation of colors by the Vietnam Veterans of America Honor Guard, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation and the national anthem.
Colors, halt, left face.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you pray with me, please? Our gracious Father, we come before you on this beautiful morning, the day that you have given us to remember and to honor and to celebrate the lives of our veterans, to honor and remember those who've given their lives in duty and service. Father, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you that our president had the foresight to honor and to remember those veterans that came home and maybe didn't receive a welcome as they should have on that day. But today is a new day, and it's a day that we are excited to be able to celebrate and to be able to welcome them today with open arms and tell them thank you for their service. Father, so many gave their lives, and we're grateful for that. We remember them today. We remember their families, their loved ones. And Father, we pray today that as we spend this time together, that you would bless this time, that your anointing and your presence would rest upon this moment and this hallowed ground, that you would keep us together with one purpose and one thought. And for these things we give you honor and praise. In your mighty name, amen.
Amen. Colors, halt.
Thank you, Chaplain Roth. Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, it is now my pleasure to introduce the St. Lucie County Commissioner of District 3, Linda Bartz, for welcoming remarks.
Good morning. So I was just telling one of the veterans that when we started this, I wanted to see 300 to 500 people here. And I look amongst you, and it brings tears to my eyes. I want to welcome you all and say thank you. This is an event that is more than 50 years overdue. And we're in a county and a city that honors and recognizes all of our veterans. No matter where you served, no matter what branch of the service you performed your duty for. I come from a strong military family and background. However, it doesn't qualify me to talk about what it's like to serve on the front lines in combat. I do feel that I'm qualified to speak as someone who had to say goodbye to family and classmates that were deployed. I waited anxiously for letters, news. We didn't have email back then. And as well as every evening, it was our family practice to sit in front of the TV and watch the news. We had a black and white TV. That's where we were back in that time. And we were always hoping that we would bring you back quickly and safely. However, for me and so many others, that wasn't the case. I lost family, I lost friends. We all have dates that are burned into our memories of where we were and what we were doing at certain times. One of those days for me was when we got the news of a loss of a family member. I mention this only because I want you to know, for me, this is personal. Because of this, I know what our military and their loved ones go through, especially for our Vietnam veterans who were not welcomed home with the respect and admiration that they deserved so many years ago, as well as the over 58,000 men who did not return. So I'm just going to take a second to say thank you for serving our country. Thank you for doing what was asked of you. Thank you for coming home. Thank you for making sure that generations beyond you remember. Thank you for being a part of our community. And just thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bartz. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is also my pleasure to introduce the Port St. Lucie City Councilman District 2, Mr. David E. Pickett Jr. for welcoming remarks, and he is a veteran.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and honorable Vietnam veterans. It's truly an honor for me to be standing here before you today. And before I start, I'd like to take a moment and recognize, when I call your service, please stand up and be recognized. If you can't stand up, raise your hand. So members of the United States Navy and Coast Guard, please stand and be recognized. Members of the United States Air Force, please stand and be recognized. Members of the United States Marine Corps, Devil Dogs, where you at? Last but not least, my service, United States Army, please stand and be recognized. We thank you for your service. When I was 19, I joined the Army out of necessity, basically. I'd been laid off from my job. I had no marketable skills. I had no formal education. My wife was 7 months pregnant, and we were living in her parents' garage. So to say my future was pretty bleak was... Then one day, everything changed for me. I seen a commercial on TV. Maybe some of you remember this campaign the Army had back in the 80s, be all you can be, join the Army. And I thought, oh, I could do that. That looks easy. I was 19, come on. So it wasn't long after I got to basic training, I realized that, man, this wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. But during basic training, we all learned things about ourselves. We learned about teamwork. We learned about trusting the person to your right or left. We learned about hard work, and we also learned values that each of us carried with us, still carry with us to this day. We learned about honor and commitment and duty and loyalty. Although I joined the Army out of necessity, I never regretted my decision to join the Army, and I appreciate the lessons that I learned while I was in the Army. It was the brave men and women such as yourselves that paved the path that I followed, and I truly appreciate that. In 1964, President Lyndon Johnson said, "We're not about to send American boys 9 or 10,000 miles away from home to do what Asian boys ought to be doing for themselves." From the start of the war in 1964 to the fall of Saigon in 1975, 2.7 million Americans served in Vietnam. During and after the war, 240 of you received the Medal of Honor. And I think that speaks volumes about your generation and your commitment to this country. Contrary to prevailing misconceptions, there were more brave individuals who signed up to serve their country than were drafted. More than 2/3 of all those who served in the Vietnam War were volunteers. The vast majority of the Vietnam veterans also made a successful transition from military life to civilian life and become productive members of our society. Less than 1% of our nation will ever wear the uniform or truly understand the sacrifices that you endured. It's because of your selfless character and your endless grace that Americans can come home each day, gather with family and friends, live in peace and harmony, and enjoy their freedoms. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to leave you with a quote from President Richard Nixon, who said, "No event in American history excuse me, is more misunderstood than the Vietnam War. With that in mind, we must maintain the sacred covenant that we share with our veterans by ensuring that they have the care and the benefits that they rightfully deserve and honor them as the true warriors that they are." My fellow veterans, may God continue to bless each and every one of you. And as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, I want to personally thank each and every one of you for what you've done for our country and our community. And on behalf of our mayor and the rest of the city council, thank you and welcome home.
Thank you, Councilman Pickett. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to stand one more time because now we're going to do the pledge. The national anthem.
My name is Dana Jean. I will be singing the Pledge of Allegiance for you guys. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Ms. Dania Jean. Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, I also want to take this opportunity to recognize all our honored guests and their staffs, to include all our U.S. Congressional, State, Senate, House, State Attorney and Public Defenders, Florida Supreme Court Justices, District of Court of Appeal appointees, 19th Judicial Circuit, and our constitutional officers, county commissioners, and mayors. Your support never goes unnoticed and is always welcome in this great state of Florida. Commissioner Sean Mitchell, Commissioner Linda Bartz, Commissioner Kathy Townsend, Commissioner Franny Hutchinson, Councilman David Pickett, Clerk of the Circuit and Court Comptroller Michelle Miller, San Lucie County Property Appraiser Michelle Franklin, San Lucie County Sheriff Ken Mascara, San Lucie Major Petri Hayes, Sheriff's Office, San Lucie Captain Stefan Sigmund, Sheriff's Office, Representative Dana Trabulski, State Senator Gail Harrell, Assistant Chief Richard Del Toro, Lieutenant Keith Bound. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, on behalf of a grateful nation, I also want to take this opportunity to recognize our Gold Star mothers and families. The term Gold Star family is a modern reference that comes from the service flag. These flags, banners, were first flown by families during World War I. The flag included a blue star for every immediate family member serving in the armed forces of the United States during any period of war or hostilities in which the armed forces of the United States were engaged. If that loved one died, the blue star was replaced by a gold star. This allowed members of the community to know the price that that family had paid in the cause of freedom. Today, the nation recognizes the sacrifice that all Gold Star family members make when a father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, or other loved one dies in service to the nation. The truth is that the strength of our nation is our armed forces. The strength of our armed forces is our servicemen and women. The strength of our servicemen and women are their beautiful families. Our country recognizes that no one has given more for the nation than the families of the fallen. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, I am proud to introduce to you our first featured speaker, Lieutenant General, United States Marine Corps, Frank LaBooty, retired. But before I concede the podium to this officer and gentleman, I get to give you a brief highlight of his amazing contributions to our nation for the last 4 decades, which include an amazing 35-year military career, additional service with the New York Police Department as their first Deputy Commissioner of Counter-Terrorism, and follow that assignment as the first Undersecretary for Information and Analysis and Infrastructure Protection Directorate at the newly created U.S. Department of Homeland Security. At the time of his retirement, Lieutenant General Frank LaBooty was Commanding General, U.S. Marine Corps Forces Pacific, Commanding General, Fleet Marine Force Pacific, Commander, U.S. Marine Corps Bases, Pacific Headquarters at Camp H.M. Smith, Hawaii. He assumed command on June 22, 1999. He was also the Commanding General of Marine Forces Command. General LaBooty is a native of Huntington, Long Island, New York. Following graduation from the Citadel in 1966, he entered the Marine Corps Officer Candidate Program in August 1966 and was commissioned as second lieutenant in October of that year. In March of 1967, he was assigned duty with the 1st Battalion, 9th Marines in Vietnam, where he served as infantry platoon commander. In 1968, he returned to Quantico for duty At the Officer Candidate School, during this tour, he served consecutively as Chief Instructor, Tactics Section, Commanding Officer, Candidate Company, and Branch Head, Academic Section. He was promoted to Captain in November of '69 upon completion of his duties in Quantico. He remained there to attend Amphibious Warfare School. General Labudi transferred to Amphibious Squadron 3, San Diego, California in 1972 for duty as Squadron Combat Cargo Officer. Upon completion of a 2-year tour there, he was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines Division in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, as Infantry Company Commander for 14 months, followed by a staff position at the battalion headquarters. There he served as Logistics Officer and later as Operations Officer. Promoted to Major in May 1977, General Labudi was reassigned as the Executive Officer, Marine Barracks, Naples, Italy. He returned from overseas in August of 1980 to attend the Command and Staff College of Quantico. Following graduation, he was transferred to Headquarters Marine Corps, Washington, D.C., for duty as head of the Career Management Section, the Manpower Department. In May 1982, he was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and assigned as Assistant Secretary General Staff. Now, when a Lieutenant General...
I think they've heard enough. Only my mother believes everything in my bio. So let me thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Lieutenant General Frank Labudi.
Well, I think it's time to put my cigar down. I'll wait to get home to have my cigar and my single malt scotch. And it's time to put my cover, as we call it in the Marines, my cover on. Hoorah, all of you Vietnam vets! God bless you all. Let me thank the color guard. Let me hear it out for the color guard. Hoorah! I won't call all services, but put your hands together for all the armed services, all the men and women. And now I would ask a special favor. It's a favor. All you Vietnam vets, stand and be recognized. You're the best. Vietnam vets, stand. I also would like to recognize the Blue and Gold Star families. What can I say? They kept the home fires going, and they kept us honest in support of our beloved country. My note says, pause. I served in the Marines for 35 years. And the credit for anything that I accomplished goes to the troops and the officers who were around me. They kept me honest. The sergeants major that I had would come in, shut the door, and say, "What the hell are we doing, General?" And I needed those folks. I'm honored, deeply honored to be with you all today and to have been asked to say a few words, share some Vietnam experiences, but really with the focus on the troops, the veterans who served in Vietnam in the 60s and 70s. Today is about celebrating the courage and sacrifice of those magnificent men and women who served our country during the Vietnam War. And in hindsight, and with more than a little reflection over the years, I must say that the U.S. strategy and policies regarding Vietnam were not clear, especially to Second Lieutenant dumbass Frank Labudi. Think about the mid-60s, the resistance to the U.S. presence in Vietnam, particularly from the political far left. But we did so because of our commitment to support South Vietnam, and moreover, our commitment to be part of SATO, Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, which was in vogue during those days. And we were all about stopping the spread of communism. You all will remember at least of my generation, what was called the domino theory. We lose Vietnam, we'll lose Southeast Asia. And by God, that wasn't going to happen. So I stand before you, ladies and gentlemen, with mixed emotion. First, and with a heavy heart, I deeply am saddened by the loss of tens of thousands, over 58,000 men and women who were taken in the prime of their lives. Secondly, I am grateful for the lifelong friendships that I made with fellow Marines with whom I was privileged to serve as a brand new second lieutenant, wet behind the ears. My mission was close with and destroy the enemy. And I tried to do that every day to the best of my ability and to take care of the troops. My Aunt Lena reminded me that every time I got a care package from Huntington, Long Island. And that lasted 2 minutes because all the sergeants and corporals were up taking all the sausage and Italian cheese. I can tell you a true story. When I got to Vietnam, again, a bit nervous in the service, hoping to do well, I gathered with my platoon. And of course, platoons in those days weren't by T&O staffed properly. Normally it's around 45, 48 people, depending on who was attached. I probably had about 25 or 30 young guys. And all I said was, "Hi, I'm Frank Labuti. I'm honored to be with you, and my job is get you all home in 13 months. The troops were my coaches and my teachers. They were young men ranging between 18 and 20 years old. They were from big cities and small towns across our country. They were mature beyond their years. They were patriots. They were Marines, following the traditions and legacy of those who went before them. And I mean what I'm going to say now from the bottom of my heart. And I am confident in expressing that same attitude about the troops of all the services. They all performed above and beyond the call of duty. And I stayed in the Corps because of the troops. I fell in love with those little green guys, and I love them still today. And I experienced a deep sense of kinship with fellow Marines based on my respect and admiration for them. And on twice a year, 2nd of July 1967, but on the 2nd of July every year, and on the 10th of November, the Marine Corps birthday, 2nd of July was a big battle called Operation Buffalo. It was about 150 of us against 3,000 North Vietnamese regulars up near the DMZ. Every year on those two dates, I call every living member of my platoon, and they don't refer to me as general or knucklehead. They refer to me as the lieutenant, because that's who I was to them and will always be to them. I call them and say, "Semper Fi, I love you. Thanks for saving my life. Have a great day." A true story, twice a year. And this was under all conditions, and repeatedly these guys, every one of them, as did soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, they pressed on. They pressed on. Despite the lack of support from many Americans, they pressed on. They pressed on in the steamy jungles during the monsoons, looking for clear water, using halazone tablets to make sure we didn't have to run to the head, which was the push. We pressed on. They pressed on. Despite booby traps and malfunctioning M16s, they pressed on. They pressed on when strategic military decisions missed the mark. I remember, and it was only after Vietnam, and I was back as a first lieutenant and a captain, and I was listening to the news from some officials in Washington who were saying, "We're doing great." And I'd say, "Well, how could that be?" And the next word out of their mouth was, because of body count. We're killing more of them than they're killing of us. Forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. Padre, forgive me. That was bullshit. We're looking for strategy. We're looking for the operational art of war. Close with and destroy the enemy. Now, I could get offline and talk about what's going on overseas, but we don't have time for that, so forgive me. These guys were simply warriors with great hearts and souls. They asked so little, these little green Marines, and gave so much. They saved my life when I was wounded 3 times in one day. And by the way, there's no talent in getting wounded 3 times in one day. My father said to me when I talked to him from the hospital, he said, "I can't believe you got wounded 3 times in one day. What the hell were you doing?" Now, every few years, those of us that are still kicking and can travel, we join one another in reunions. Staff Sergeant Lafifi, my platoon sergeant, Silver Star, 2 tours of duty, somehow never wounded. Sergeant Francis, best squad leader I had, came back, joined the officer program, ended up flying helicopters. Sergeant Francis. Corporal Sullivan, KIA, June 67, squad leader. And then there was Lance Corporal Stuckey, who overnight held off several attacks across our flank. Had his machine gun, fired away, fired away, fired away, till he was out of ammo. Got his hand blown off. Stood by, pressed on, came home, and was awarded the Navy Cross. Well, we get together, we share these stories, we drink a little, sometimes a little too much. We cried a lot, and we remembered our fallen. We remembered our fallen. And I'm looking at first responders saying, we remember our fallen, gentlemen. Bottom line, for everyone who served in Vietnam, for all the services, men and women, we served because we were called to serve. We served with honor for an honorable mission. My friends, it's an honor and a privilege to be with you. May God bless you all. May God bless the United States of America and all servicemen and women and their families. Hoorah! Please sit down. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, I'm also proud to introduce to you our second feature speaker, Captain, United States Navy, Jenny Libutti, retired. But before I concede the podium to this officer and lady, I get to give you a brief highlight of her amazing contributions to our nation in the last 2 decades, and I'll try to be short. United States Naval Officer, Italy, Maryland, Rhode Island, Washington, D.C., California, 1975 to 1989. United States Navy Reserve Officer, 1989 to 1999. She was an administration department head, Commander, U.S. Naval Forces, Long Beach. Coordinated commercial and military travel logistics for U.S. Senate, House members, and staff. Conducted and published port security studies for Naval Criminal Investigative Service. Scheduled and coordinated large-scale events for student body at U.S. Naval Academy. Developed specifications for bid awarded to local Italian shipyards for repair of small craft as a small craft facilities director. Maintain and operate a small craft facility for naval support activity in Naples, Italy, directing 30 naval personnel across landing craft, electrical shop, welding shop, and dormitories in a 24/7 operation. Develop and design the plan and furniture selection for remodel housing personnel property office for the U.S. Naval Activities, Naples, Italy. Directed staff and maintain facilities and support recreation department, the Naval Support Office, La Maddalena, Italy. Instruction researcher, University of Maryland Graduate School, College Park, Maryland. Graduate Assistant in Kinesiology Department. Director of Biomechanics Lab Facility. Assistant Researcher, Grants Projects in Kinesiology Department. And then I'm going to give you a couple of personal achievements. She's a Taekwondo black belt first dan. She's a sprint triathlete. She's bilingual in English and Italian. She's an artist. She's a designer. If you ask me, we just heard from Captain America, but we're going to hear from Captain Marvel now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce Captain Jean Monica Labudi.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to honor all of you who have served in the armed forces and especially in Vietnam today. I cannot pretend to know or even understand what the horrors experienced in war firsthand can be. My knowledge of war is only what I have read or seen in pictures. I do know, however, that it leaves an indelible mark on the minds and souls of those who have experienced it. Each human affected by war will use some kind of coping mechanism to live with those scars. Some are more successful than others, but the scars, they will never fade. I am a veteran of the Navy during peacetime. I am left with a different experience than that of my husband and all the other warriors here that have experienced the war. I can only speak of my experiences as having been exciting, fun, educational, cultural, international, and sometimes very humbling. As a woman, I wanted to join the Navy to be one of the guys. I was a tomboy. To experience the adventure, the camaraderie, to accrue skills that could help me grow as a human. And the Navy did all of that for me. But I also felt the pushback that I was not one of the men who could be taken seriously as an integral part of the Navy. Maybe some of that came from something in me that I didn't understand, but some of it did come from my not being male. I retired in 1999. Today we see more and more women in the armed forces than ever before. We see changes in uniform design, laws that aid in better integrating women into the myriad areas of military expertise. And that is all a good thing, and I am thankful for that. I cannot pretend, excuse me, it's windy here. I have always been able to see the strength in women and the intelligence in women that can only be an added advantage to any organization. Some of us are stronger than others. Some of us are less emotional than others, but we all have something to offer. No doubt there are men that cannot meet the strict standards of the military, just as there are women who cannot. But we should never push back on what a woman can contribute and what strengths they possess. God bless America and the United States Navy.
Obviously, I married up.
Yes, you did, General. Behind every successful man, there's always an even more successful woman. Thank you, honey. I'm going to ask my staff volunteers to come forth, and then Constable Pickett and Commissioner Barrett to take their place, because now we're going to honor our Vietnam veterans. I would like all the Vietnam veterans here present to come down two single lines here, as you will be pinned in a proclamation presented to you by Commissioner Bartz and Councilman Pickett.